Nothing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be accosted on the street.
yeah, right. I'm saying.
We're all good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Arts, Culture, Education and Schools Committee meeting for Monday, May 12th. I'm Josephine Schmag, one of the co-chairs for this evening, along with Matt Green. We've got a very full agenda today. We have the Swim Safety Expansion Program, Hudson Guild, the Shed, and finally a committee discussion on the foundation, changes to the foundation aid with Senator Hoylman's office. But we are going to begin this evening with an open session where speakers can come on and get 2 minutes to talk about any topic of their choice. So I believe we have someone waiting, Jesse.
We Curtis.
Okay.
I get there is.
Hello, Curtis. I'm trying to bring you over.
There
How are you this evening? Can you hear us?
Okay, here I am. Ta-da! Hi there. Good evening. Hi. And Jesse, thank you for
Hold on, Curtis.
including me. Let me turn this.
Curtis,
Yes.
you have 2 devices?
Yes, I just turned it off. I got it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. So my name is Curtis Whittem. I am a Department of New York City Department of Ed art teacher in the Bronx. I've been there. I'm finishing up my 10th year. I'm also a performer, and I have an act. It's called the Free Art Dude. What I do is I hand out free art to people and get into discussions with them about it while wearing an artistic costume. I had sent Jesse all the links and everything. I can always send them again. I'm here because I've gone all over the city, from bids in Brooklyn, the Highline Open Studios, the Lower East Side Festival of the Arts, and I'd like to expand my practice. I noticed, what you have. You cover a lot of ground, a lot of things in the city. So I'm thinking of some nonprofits, even standing in your lobby if you places that you're part of, working at some of your events, if there's a park or something that you have, even being part of a business. The thing for me is being an art teacher and artist, and the way the arts funding, especially these days, has been cut. I'm handing out art for free, and I'm educating and entertaining people about it at the same time. It's not just for people who know about art. It's also for children, for young people who want to know more or may be reluctant about that. I'm basically a walking museum. And my website, and I sent Jesse has all the links and stuff. You can see that. I'm also on Instagram. It's just my name, Curtis Whittem. And it's just a great way to meet people, to educate people about art, and to spread the word, especially these days. And I'm, as an art teacher and an artist, who really try to eradicate ignorance about art and what art should be or what it shouldn't be. I hand out pictures about, a Cezanne, but it's also pictures from the Guerrilla Girls. And they're on cards. They're like 3.5 by 5 cards on cardstock paper. And I talk to people, I tell them about what the art is, and we get into conversations. So I'd like to be part of the organizations that you're a part of, whether you have an event or of a place or a nonprofit or even a street fair in your district that could do what I offer. And you can go to my site, you can go to my Instagram, and it works. I've been doing this for quite a while, and people like it. And I'd like to expand that and be part of the city that I live in and that I love. I think that's
wonderful. Thank you so much, Curtis.
Thank you.
For bringing this to us, and also your service to New York City Public Schools.
Thank you so
Yeah, we'll check out the links, and we'll let you know if we have any ideas for you.
Okay, thanks for your time. Thank you. Bye. Thanks again, Jesse. Bye.
Okay, so we actually have Erin Vega here in person, so we're going to start with her about the swim safety expansion program. So if you want to introduce yourself and just give us a little background.
Sure, my name is Erin Vega. I'm from the Parks Department. I've been working in parks for 20 years. I'm with Public Programs, which oversees 4 divisions. So we have aquatics, recreation, media education, and our urban park rangers, which falls under education and wildlife. So I work in the commissioner's office specifically for public programs, and here today I'm gonna speak specifically about aquatics.
Great.
It'll be exciting. I did put together a brief presentation, so we'll go through just all of what Parks has to offer, and we will talk about the expansion that has been announced recently in the news by the mayor.
Great.
Have you been to commissioner? See, I'm not really resigned, right?
No, but it's probably gonna take a little while. So we're looking at our fiscal year 2024 numbers. We're gonna run through some of the programming that we have, so we can just jump right into the next slide. So fall, winter, and spring program occurs inside in all of our recreation centers. We offer adaptive aquatics, learn to swim, which is like a general learn to swim program. We have that all the way from tots all the way up to senior classes for learn to swim. Swim for Life is a program that is geared towards 2nd grade students. And the 2nd grade students receive education credits for coming during the school day into a recreation center and learning how to swim. So the focus is about learning how to swim and just being safe in and around the water. Those are 10-week sessions, and we work very closely with New York City Public Schools on those programs. We have swim team at all of our recreation centers. Swim prep is a newer program, and I'll speak about that a little later in the slideshow. Then we have adult and senior water exercise, adult and senior water ballet. Aqua Zumba is at some sites, it's not at all, but the water exercise is everywhere. So, and it doesn't matter where you go, you can get exercise in the water and in our facilities. And then aquatics career prep is also relatively new, and we partner with DYCD to offer that program. So in FY 24, we served about 16,000 participants, and 23 was, we can go back, it's 12,000, so we can just keep going.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So we're increasing, we're rebuilding from the pandemic, and it's something that we're excited about because we're looking at things a little differently and really pushing the code. So we can go to the next slide now. This is specifically Swim for Life. I went through everything that I just told you, but in FY 24, we served 6,629 participants, which is an increase of 29% from the 5,133 that we served in FY 23. One of the great things about Swim for Life and that partnership that we've had long standing since 2005 with New York City Public Schools is that now we're getting into public schools pools, and we're able to offer programming in some of their pools as well. So that's really where that expansion is coming from. Our pools have completely maxed out the number of classes we can offer. We offer 15 classes a week at all of our sites, and we're looking to offer 15 classes a week at DOE sites if possible. If not, we're asking for at least 10 slots. That's between 10 AM and 1 PM for those school students that are able to come over. And New York City Public Schools works with us on busing. So if kids are a little further, they get bused to the site, they get picked up, and then they go back to school and they receive those gym credits. So it's a nice little change for them throughout the day for that 10-week session.
Do you ever partner with the Y for this or no?
We actually used to partner with the Y for it. We had more private funding that was able to come in, and through funding streams, we were able to allocate funding to the YMCA, and also Asphalt Green was a big partner. Now Asphalt Green is focusing on their Wave Makers program, so that's also targeting 2nd graders, and they're trying to find like, what's the best way to teach students. Okay, but we've worked closely with all of them. In summer 2024, we were at Learn to Swim at 6 outdoor pools. We offered basically tots to child Learn to Swim classes, and we did 4-hour sessions every day. So we were able to get a lot of people to come out and participate in those programs. We had 4,452 at the 6 outdoor pools last year. In 2023, we were at 2,674. And last year, we were able to bring back our senior splash, which is a senior water exercise program. And those classes came into the pools before the pools opened to the public, so that the seniors really had their own specific set time to get a nice workout in. It's great. The community that you see at these sites with the seniors is just wonderful. They're so happy to be there, so happy to see each other. So it was nice. We had 902 visits over the summer at one pool per borough. In Manhattan, we were at Thomas Jefferson. Our indoor pools, we were able to offer programming at in the past, pre-pandemic, we didn't offer programming at the indoor pools during the summer season because we were out at 36 outdoor pools. And as we continue to rebuild, we are hoping to move back into that outdoor model so that it's all free lessons, because to come into the rec center, you have to be a member and there is a fee if you're over 23. So the fees are nominal, it's not anything crazy, but $150 for the year for a site with a pool. But that allows you free programming for any of the programs that we have. You can come in, use a weight room, a cardio room. You can shoot around basketball in the gym if there's time for that. You know, you can pick up a paddle and play pickleball with a group of people that are in the gym playing pickleball, depending on the set schedule. So there's a lot to offer, and a lot of people don't know about the recreation centers, so just pushing them and letting you guys know that they're there, please come visit. Closest to here is Chelsea, and then we also have Constance Baker Motley on the east side, and we have Gertrude Ederly, which is right over here on the west side it was 59th Street, so now it's 60th Street, is that entrance? And so in the past summer, we served 1,500 participants in our indoor swim classes, and those we had water aerobics, we had the Learn to Swim for Children. And they were at only 6 sites. Met Pool is another site that is not too far, if like you hop on the L, it's in Brooklyn, but that one's a nice pool too. Right now it's currently closed, and last year we weren't able to offer programming there, but if we do bring back indoor programming, it'll probably be at 7 sites. So our continued new additions, this is the swim prep and aquatics career prep I spoke about briefly. We can jump to the next slide, but our swim prep is a registration-based program for anybody that's interested in becoming a lifeguard, but might not feel like they're up to taking the test. So what we do is they register, we have it currently at 3 sites. We have it at Constance Baker Motley, we have it at Flushing in Queens, and St. John's in Brooklyn. And so people register, they come out, they get stroke assessments, time trials, and then they get feedback from our aquatics team to let them know what they need to work on, what they can do without being with us. They can either be referred to another class, they can be referred to go to a Learn to Swim class, or we can say, you guys are ready, go take the lifeguard test and you're gonna pass, and then you can start training to become a lifeguard. So we're in our 2nd year of the swim prep program.
Is there a high need for?
Lifeguards?
Yeah.
Yes, that's. And we work very closely with our lifeguard division. The special programs team oversees the lifeguards, and they work closely with us so that we can know exactly what it is they're looking for and set up our classes to meet those needs. We start at 15 years and older, and we just hope that we can get more lifeguards into the program. We had 25 program participants who passed the qualifying exam. And then 72% of them became lifeguards in the 2024 season. And we're still looking at the numbers for this season to find out how many lifeguards we were able to recruit through this program. And as you can see, St. John's was new this year. You can go to the next slide. Aquatics career prep is near and dear to my heart because it's one of the programs that started once I got into the commissioner's office. But I was a summer youth employee and I worked at the Hudson Guild, and it was one of the most rewarding careers or like jobs I had throughout the summer. It actually made me realize I really liked giving back to the community. I liked working in community center. So our aquatic trainees get paid to learn how to swim and also to manage the facility and maintain a pool. So they're testing the water, obviously supervised, but they're learning how to clean the pool deck so that it's safe for our patrons. They're working on their strokes, and we've actually hired some of the participants that came through this program. So it currently runs out of Flushing Meadows Corona Park Pool, and right now, any participants that are interested in the program, we're asking them to like let their providers know that they're interested. Because we work so closely with DYCB, we're able to like push them through and get them to where they need to be so that they can join this program. We're looking to create more lifeguards, it's like the main focus, but obviously we need aquatics instructors as well. If you're not teaching people how to swim, then they're not learning so that they can become lifeguards, right? So we have to keep everything moving, and so we have hired both lifeguards and our aquatic specialists through some of the youth that went through this program. Some planned new pools that are coming are Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. This is in Brooklyn. We're looking for an opening of fall, winter 2025. It is gorgeous. It's gonna have a beautiful pool, 6 lanes, and a nice mezzanine area. It's beautiful. Like I've seen the building as it's been built, and so it's just nice to see it. It's one of the first new centers in years, so it's very exciting. Roy Wilkins is coming to us in Queens. And then we have Arborn Aquatic Center, that's gonna be like an indoor outdoor pool situation, and it's just more like Flushing with an outdoor pool. Or kind of like how some of the sites out here, how Tony Depp or Astor Levy have the indoor pool, but then in the summer we have an outdoor pool, so that'll be a nice site as that comes. I do have on the next slide a call to action. We are hiring, please. If you guys know anybody that is interested in becoming an aquatic specialist, we need people to take on this role, not just for the summer, but also for the expansion. It's gonna be important for us to have staff so that we can get more second graders into the pool. Our focus is to try to hit 4,800 new second graders next year. So through this program, we really do need people that are interested and willing to come out and teach the kids how to swim. We do have full-time and we have seasonal positions available currently, so please share.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for that presentation.
Thank you.
I hope we can share that information, Jesse, on our newsletter. I think that would be so fantastic. So, I'm just curious, how many New York City public schools have swimming pools?
I can't speak to their exact number. I wanna say they're somewhere in the 50s, but they would be the best ones to answer that question. And they've been putting a lot of work into their pools and bringing new pools online. I feel like constantly.
Is it primarily high schools?
Yes.
Oh,
It's primarily.
My high school had one, yeah, I never even went to it, it's Lincoln High School in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You never went?
You just didn't have that, so this late 70s, early 80s, it was very weird.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
disappointing.
Trying to reopen the pool at Baird Rustin, at the educational complex, I think there's a big.
Was a pool over?
I think that's the campus that has the pool, if I'm not mistaken, and I
Yeah, I'm
think
pretty sure.
it's been empty for a long time.
But
But there's
the
efforts.
these second graders swim, would that have to be in like an elementary school or?
So we are partnering with high schools and
Oh,
bringing the second
okay,
graders
okay.
into high schools
Very
as well. Currently, we're at Curtis and Staten Island because we have no indoor pools there.
Yeah.
We're in the Bronx because our only Bronx pool is currently closed. And we're also in Far Rockaway because it's Far Rockaway and they
Yeah.
need to know how to swim before they go to the beach. So we're definitely looking at sites where we don't have facilities and where we can reach more participants.
Well, that's an exciting program. Are there any other questions?
Just out of curiosity, and sorry if you said this, why second grade?
There's been research behind it. They haven't really hit those body issues. They haven't started state testing. They have more free time. They can come out. They're more willing to try new things. And so there have been studies, I was not included in them, but that's really why they started the program Swim for Life. And you'll see it throughout all of the organizations that are offering swimming. Asphalt Green does it, the YMCA does it, we do it. And we are targeting those second graders because it's like proven that when you get them at that age, they're interested, they get engaged, and they're more likely to want to continue this.
Excellent.
How many lifeguards are employed by, at the public city pools?
I'm sorry, I don't know that number.
I guess I'm just
don't-
wondering, is it like 100 or is it like 1,000?
Oh, no, the target number is over 1,000,
Wow,
but I can't tell you exactly how many are. I would have to ask the lifeguards and.
wow.
I would love to have more pools in our community district. I don't think we have any outdoor pools. And I was curious about the new pools. Do you know if those are like renovated old pools or is that new development?
Those are new developments.
And is that on city park property or it was all on park property, so. I would love to know, and we have a whole parks committee that might be interested in this as well, but sort of how you carved out space for that new development, if there's always competing interests, and we have some large parks, but I just can't even imagine, like, that process must have taken a long time and gone through quite a bit. But I would love to see sort of how that process worked to get some new pools in established parks.
Yeah.
Did did I misunderstand you when you said there was one pool in the Bronx?
One indoor pool.
Oh, one indoor, but there's more than one.
There are more than one.
Oh,
Well, yeah, there.
what kind of
Yeah.
justice?
I think we have one, which is the Chelsea Rec. I mean, Gertrude is like might be right on the northern side of our district. I don't know if it goes up to 60th.
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, it's right on the other side.
It's right on the other side. Which I've used, which is a great new pool.
I've used both.
Yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, it'd be great. I mean, it's such a great initiative.
Yeah.
It's such an important life-saving skill.
Yes.
So we will follow up on the possible pool in CB4, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the land of
Did you
money.
see the numbers that were posted? It was like one of them was 144
Oh.
going in.
Yes,
Well,
I
that's
saw
curious,
that,
like, yeah, how to
Very
get done, it's
expensive.
new development.
The whole facility as opposed to just
Right.
a pool.
Yeah, yes.
Wait, can I ask you a question? How come you mentioned only the second grade program you had, but there's one for adults, isn't
Oh,
there?
yeah.
Yeah.
You did mention?
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Learn to swim is for everybody from toddlers through
Oh,
seniors.
oh,
So
yeah,
we
it's
have
not
different classes.
That's why I didn't see, because I took the adult one many years ago.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I did.
Good, that's wonderful.
Then I swam to the deep end on my own. I had a panic attack before I did, but I did it.
Good job.
I did it.
That's awesome. That's why we're here. And it's, it's never too late to get in the
I
water.
might do it again.
Yeah. Okay, keep us posted.
Yeah, please, feel here for you.
And it's safe way.
With an instructor. Okay, well, thank you so much, Erin, for that great presentation. We appreciate your
Yeah,
time.
thank
Thank you.
Bye.
Or me.
And are you from Chelsea? You said your dad learned how to swim at the rec center.
My dad did learn how to swim
Yeah.
at the rec center and I grew up in the Elliott houses.
Oh, nice, that's great.
Yes, yeah.
So you went to PS33?
I went to PS3.
Here's three.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you
No,
screwed
very
it right
well.
down, nice.
Yeah.
And I heard you worked at the Hudson Guild.
I did.
I worked there too, that was one of my first jobs.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of fun. My son went to 11.
Oh,
Wonderful.
that's
Cool,
cool.
you say PS3?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, that's so cool.
New news about
I live downtown.
Wait, do you live or work in CB4?
Oh, geez.
I was trying to recruit.
Yes.
For the
Good job, Maria. Yes, okay. All right, so next on the agenda, we have Hudson Guild. And Jesse, are we expecting Ken? Is that-
Yeah, oh yeah, let me just take that down, I'm sorry, he's on.
Yeah.
If we, if we would.
I'm not sure that's what it's.
I mean, one second. There. I'll see if we can.
Okay, sure.
That's outside of our flashing site.
All right, Jen, give us 1 second, we're just having.
You can.
I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, it's gorgeous.
Which side is this?
Questions?
Part of the show was just in the last, I was sharing.
So while we wait,
There we go.
okay, hi Jim.
Hello.
So, just to refresh people's memories, a few months ago, I had this crazy idea about doing like an art show in Community Board 4. And I still think it's like a worthwhile discussion to have to figure out, how something like that could happen to showcase local artists. In that sort of process, Jim from Hudson Guild, they put on a fantastic art show for the community, several times a year. And so Jim and I connected, we had a great conversation, and we thought it would be great. He's been to the community board many times before, but I think it's been some time since he's visited this particular committee. So we thought it would be great to have Jim come back and talk about how they do their art show, the work that goes into it, how the board can be helpful to you, Jim, and getting the word out and outreach, and just sort of understanding where you are right now when the next show is coming up. And then we can continue the conversation to see if there are, parts of our neighborhood that could benefit from art exposure and showing their own art. And so just kind of wanted to talk further about what is currently happening in our district as it relates to the great art programming that's happening at Hudson Guild. So thank you, Jim, so much for being here. And I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Now, I thought I was also supposed to do a presentation on the arts program in general. So why don't
That
I
would be
start with
great.
that?
Yes.
And
yes,
the arts
please.
program, I sent a fact sheet and a description. Was that distributed?
Yes.
Good.
From the
So
Dropbox.
that has a lot of the basic information. The arts have been part of the Hudson Guild since 1896. And the arts are a big part of our real estate here. We have our beautiful theater. We have 2 art galleries, one at the Elliott Center and one at the Fulton Center that reopened in 2022. And our arts program focuses on both performing and visual arts. And it's 2-pronged in that one of the goals is to educate people in our community about contemporary art by bringing in professional visual artists to show in our galleries, or professional performing artists to be part of our summer concert series. And then the second part is to give people in our community the opportunity to make art despite their level of experience. So our community theater group, Hudson Guild Theater Company, is open to anyone in the community, regardless of their level of experience. And we also, in our art galleries, we fold in shows by community people, like a children's art show last year, a senior art show, etc. We do 5 gallery shows in each gallery, so a total of 10 a year. And the Hudson Guild Theater Company does 3 projects a year: a summer workshop, a fall production, and a spring production. This year, we were very fortunate to get funding from the Murray Haber Foundation. We renamed our theater after Murray, and we were able to do a 4th project with our theater company that just was performed last week. 48 children from our after-school program in a dance concert called Beach Suite, set to music by the Beach Boys. And it was a big success and a lot of fun. And that was hot on the heels of our spring production, our full production in the theater, The Furies, a contemporary adaptation of the Oresteia by Aeschylus. And we also have a lot of different classes in various programs, our after-school program and our senior center, all sorts of arts classes throughout the year. What you started out by saying was you were referring to our community art jam, which we spoke about several weeks ago. And that is one of our most popular and emblematic events. It's in its 27th year, I think. Anyone in the community can sign up to be in it. All you have to do is fill out a one-page form, the title of your work, the size of your work, and then you come on the night of the opening and you pick a number from a hat. And if you get number 1, we give you a hammer and a nail, and you get to put your piece up wherever you want to put it in the gallery. And last year, all the way up to 103 artists, which was pretty much capacity. This year, we're going to limit it to 100 artists because it got a little crazy. We've never had that. It's a good problem to have, but we've never had it before. And it's a wonderful event. It's a sort of sociological experiment. People colliding, all ages, all backgrounds, sometimes arguing about you're placing your picture too close to mine, etc. But ultimately, when it's done, it takes about 2.5 hours to hang. It's a wonderful sort of testament to community spirit. And so that is a model, one model that you might use for a West Side arts show, but not necessarily the only model. And if you came up with another model, I'd be happy to consult about that and give you ideas. You know, I've been at the Guild 31 years, so I put on a lot of art exhibits and a lot of productions. And I came to the Guild with no gallery experience. I was a theater director. And in some ways, it was good for the galleries. And I had more success in my early years in the galleries because I came with a fresh eye and, you know, not the same old way of doing things. And so, yeah, so that's the basic overview of our arts program.
Well, we appreciate that, Jim, and we will definitely take you up on that offer to tap into your expertise if we decide to go this route, and do something, but appreciate you being here and telling us about everything that you're doing at the Guild. We'll open it up to just general questions, to the committee. For Jim, anything about?
I guess, Jim, I guess it's sort of a question for you, and maybe it's a question for you, Matt, but Jim, do you have a lot more artists saying that they would like to share their work or be involved than you are able to have involved? And I guess I'm wondering that, have artists come to us, or like, what gave you the idea that we should?
Yeah, so I saw this being done in Community Board 8 on the Upper East Side, that they were doing something, so I had a conversation with their district manager about it.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a great question.
I always have a waiting list of artists who want to show in the gallery.
Okay.
But we have had to be more proactive in recruiting artists other than white males. You know, that we have a preponderance of those. The past couple of years, we've focused on artists of color and women artists. And this year, we've practically all the solo shows were by women. So that's one thing. Our community-based artists who are in like art classes in the after-school program or the senior center, they often participate in group shows. A lot of people want one-person shows, and I say to people, we rarely give a new artist a one-person show. We identify new artists by calls for submissions for group shows, and group shows based around different themes. And that's the way we get to know an artist and get to know their work better. And so that might lead to a solo show. But to answer your question, yes, there's a lot of artists out there, various levels of experience and expertise, but desirous to show their work and share it with the community.
Thank you.
Yes, David.
I've been to your shows many times. They're fantastic, they're phenomenal. Major reason I haven't bought anything is because I live in a small New York apartment. But my friend Francine Hazelcorn has bought a few things and.
Oh, I know. She's one of our greatest patrons.
Yeah, well, cause she had, a good friend of mine, Cause I go there to, we come to meetings and we always look at the artwork before, so even if it's, we've seen it before, we like to look at it again, it's like a quick mini museum, it's just beautiful, and I saw the, play, you had the Furies, that was a very good, cute, I don't think the director meant it to be funny, but it was very funny and at the same time, point.
Well, the
So that-
third play is kind of funny. People don't know that about the Eurostyle. And it has a happy ending, so, yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
But you know, our gallery, I say this to artists all the time, our primary goal is not to sell art, and we don't sell a lot of art. That's why Francine is so wonderful. She bought 3 or 4 pieces from the last show. Our goal is to educate people about art who aren't normally exposed to art, who don't go to galleries or museums much. And so that is one of our main goals, besides giving access to visual artists to show their work.
That's terrific. Do we have any other questions? Oh, well, thank you so much for your time,
Thank you
Jim.
for having me.
Wonderful.
I
Yes,
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Jim. Good to see
Okay.
you.
Have a good evening.
you too.
And I will circulate this to the committee, but the art show that CB8 is doing is gonna be on May 31st.
Oh.
So if you're interested and you wanna head up to the 91st Street between Second and Third, it's happening.
I'll get my passport up,
So, yeah. But I'll send the details by email soon.
Thank you, Matt. That's actually a great segue into our last presenter of the evening, which is Darren from the Shed. And they also have a program, Open Call, that's looking for new artists. So Darren's gonna tell us about all the exciting events happening at the Shed this summer.
I am. Thank you so much for having me. Can you all see my screen okay, or is it better in a different presenter mode?
Yeah, if you can make it full screen, that'd be great, Darren. It's
Okay,
a
great.
little,
It's a little small.
yeah, it's a little small.
Is that better?
It's better.
Okay, great. Thank you all for having me. Darren Biggert, he, him. I'm the Director of Civic Programs at the Shed. I'm thrilled to be back with you all at the ACES committee. I'm going to share a bit about our summer offerings at the Shed. I'll give a little overview, but happy to answer questions along the way or afterwards. I always like to start with this in case there's anyone listening who doesn't know that the Shed has a civic programs department. By way of refamiliarizing folks, we like to ensure that the Shed is as permeable and responsive and responsible as possible, investing in public life and accessible art and civic discourse. We do that through sort of 4 main levers: programs that we call artistic interventions, public programs, social organizing around urgent needs, and government and community partnerships. I love this slide. It's just a little look at where of some of those programs fall under those kind of 4 key levers. But I'll dig into some summer specific things here. This May, later this month, we're starting with the Manhattan Borough Student Art Festival. Really excited to be hosting this with our DOE partners for the first time. It includes performance and visual work over the course of 2 days. I think 672 students representing 113 schools throughout the borough. We're also, I think, excitingly working to connect our commissioned artists through Open Call with these student artists so that they engage with one another. Students get tours of the commissioned artist work later this summer, and commissioned artists get tours of the student work, so that students can kind of locate, possibilities, and we think about a pipeline there. We also have a social practice artist in residence program. I'll talk a little bit more about what this year's program looks like, but they're launching a series of free programs later this month with Anatomy of a Folktale on May 17th, free to attend, and I'll talk a bit more about what they're doing in a couple slides. And lastly, we're partnered with Civic Engagement Commission. We went to their great conference a couple weeks ago. Yasmani Arboleda, the artist in residence, is working to make democracy more like honey, to make it sticky and sweet for people. So we're featuring their Sunnies campaign to promote their participatory budgeting process, which I'm sure, as you all know, is open to all New Yorkers ages 11 and up, regardless of immigration status. A little bit more about some of the programs I mentioned there. Our social practice artists in residence program, I'd say broadly, if you don't want to read all the words on this slide, it's distinguished by artists who make relationships the primary material in their work and who offer free participatory entry points throughout the year at the Shed. These are our two artists this year. For 3 years, it was Troy Anthony and the Fire Ensemble. We were hosting choir rehearsals. Now we're working with these artists, Tanya Burl Torres and Reza Salazar. They're launching the Zora Project, honoring the legacy of Harlem Renaissance icon Zora Neale Hurston, building relationships with lots of organizations along the way. The outreach is really robust for these summer workshops they're doing. You'll see a series of this folktales workshop, a dance and movement focused workshop, and then a music focused workshop this summer. And then this year will culminate in a free reading of their theatrical adaptation of Their Eyes Were Watching God. That takes us to June, which, as you can see, is a very busy month for us. Of course, we're hosting voting. We've been partnered with Board of Elections since 2020 to host both general and primary elections. We expect a great turnout for this mayoral primary race. Dates are here for both early voting and election day. Also in June, we're producing our 9th Open Arms Resource Fair. I'll talk a bit more about that program in slides to come here. That's on Saturday, June 14th. That second participatory workshop with our social practice artists happens in June. That's the dance-focused work. Anybody's welcome to sign up. Information's on the website. That's June 21st. And then our annual nesting, where the building moves to reveal our 17,000 square foot public plaza. You can come see the building move. That happens on Tuesday, June 24th at 10 a.m. Please come on out. I'll be out there with a cup of coffee. That nesting happens just in time for 2 free summer programs to launch. The first is Open Call, which of course I'll talk about. That will be open to the public from June 27th through August 24th. And then this new piece that has not been announced yet, but I'll give you a sneak peek of, called Diffuse Control, which is another free public artwork. I have to talk about Open Call. It's our large-scale commissioning program for early career multidisciplinary New York City-based artists. It's completely free to apply and completely free to attend. It's a democratized selection process to ensure equity and to make sure we're connected to as many artists as possible. And it's on a 2-year cycle. So this current cohort is made up of 21 artists. This summer will be the group visual arts exhibition, and next summer will be performance premieres from this cohort. Here's a look at that cohort. As I mentioned, 21 artists making 17 new works. That was out of 1,000 submissions in our last application process. We anticipate over 15,000 free tickets will be issued. That's the number we hit the last cycle, and we think we can do better. All programs, of course, are free. This summer's group exhibition, I'm really excited about. It's called Open Call Portals. There are the dates and hours again. It's 12 new works centered around migration, colonialism, and spirituality. I want to highlight, we're doing 18 public programs. All of those are also free. Those are panels, performances, different activations, food festival, all sorts of things, again, all on the website, as well as free weekly tours of the gallery. The sort of call to action I have here is, right now we're partnered with both DOE and DYCD to make sure that we have a good plan for Summer Rising and for the NYCHA residents and for other organizations with whom we're already connected, Entertainment Community Fund and Department of the Aging. But this is a really exciting kind of lever for us because it's completely free and the capacity is quite large. So families, New Yorkers, organizations, anybody looking for free artistic events this summer, either for those public programs or just to make their way through the gallery. We have educational guides for all ages, well, ages 10 through adult learners. We have wall text in various languages. Each wall text ends with a prompt, so we really want people to find their way in no matter how much time, like Jim was saying, how much time folks have spent in a gallery setting before. This is a really, I think, quite accessible entry point. Excitingly, a new component of the gallery and of our summer nesting program that you can sort of see in that tiny rendering on the right, we have a public sculpture out on our plaza for the first time. It's 20 feet tall. It's a Neo-Mayan pyramid made out of coolers, like the coolers that immigrants sell food out of in New York. So we're excited to sort of join our neighbors in the High Line with a public art offering on the plaza all summer. That entrance to the shed, to the fixed building, will be open from the plaza, so folks can really be drawn in by that incredible sculpture and then make their way directly onto that level for the free open call gallery. Open Arms, as I mentioned, also happening in June. Many of you know we've been a founding partner of Project Open Arms with DOE since 2022, connecting all folks living in temporary housing with crucial resources across healthcare and education and myriad legal and social services. Given our current political climate, we're working really closely with our partners to stay responsive to the most urgent needs of new New Yorkers and all people living in temporary housing. This includes partnering with folks to plan smaller satellite events in addition to our large resource fairs, advising other sites on supporting New Yorkers, and certainly learning and adapting on how we keep everybody safe. To date, we've produced 8 fairs, so this will be our 9th. We've served about 8,000 attendees, working with over 50 organizations. We'll be holding this fair at a partner school in Harlem. For this fair, we've secured 15,000 pairs of shoes and socks, hot meals. We have 15 tabling organizations across dental and other healthcare, legal immigration, social services, food assistance, and a lot of community groups that connect folks to resources. I just sort of feel compelled to say that we're really committed to continuing this work. We have a December fair that's also already in the planning pipeline because these needs remain urgent. You all know about nesting. We are nesting on June 24th. The plaza will be open through the end of August. You can come watch the shed nest and see that public sculpture that will be on display on the plaza. Historically, we've had a program out there called Summer Sway. This year, we're sort of leaning into this public sculpture and have one big activation around West Side Fest, which I'll talk about when I get to July. This is that new free artwork I mentioned. AI has been in the conversation, I think, with a lot of artists. This is an AI-powered interactive artwork. It's a rotating 10-foot sculpture of screens with curated artworks that members of the public can actually manipulate and sort of remix through the power of AI. There will be a press release later this month with more details, but this is kind of a sneak peek at the rendering. It's in the lobby, which is also free, for anybody to wander into. It has Wi-Fi, air conditioning, free water. So it's just kind of another entry point for folks to engage in some free artwork. This is my last slide. We get to July and August. We're working for the second year with the Summer Youth Employment Program through DYCD and Inwood Community Services. I know you all mentioned them earlier. I feel very excited about the kind of educational component of that experience because my mother was an elementary school principal. But interns will attend meetings and help deliver programs, but also culminate in a presentation for the shed. So really excited to accept 4 interns will be at their fair this week. The 3rd annual West Side Fest, you all know about the West Side Cultural Network. The Shed is a founding organization, began about 6 years ago to explore how we could build a coalition together to define this neighborhood as a thriving arts and culture district, but also to seek shared solutions to shared challenges and to build comprehensive engagement strategies for all New Yorkers, particularly teens and families, older New Yorkers, NYCHA residents, disabled folks, and more. I now sit on the admin committee and the program and engagement committee, so I can tell you firsthand that it's a really dedicated group of representatives from 20 organizations aspiring to really scale these efforts. This is the 3rd year of West Side Fest, a weekend-long sort of flagship program. It's all free up and down the West Side. Last year, we had 130,000 people engaged that weekend, and it rained, so we expect more. For the Shed's part that weekend, we'll host a big DJ dance event on the plaza with DJ Collective Soul Summit. We'll have cooling stations and food and beverages, so please come dance with us on Saturday, July 12th. That social practice artists will offer their 3rd workshop of the summer, which is a music-focused program, so folks can come sing in July from that new adaptation of Their Eyes Were Watching God. And then Open Call, of course, will run through August 24th with tons of public programs and tours, all free. The plaza will be open through August 31st, and the deinstallation process will end with the sculpture, so that should be up through the entire time that the plaza is open. I think I spoke really fast, but I'm ready for any questions that.
Thank you so much for that, Darren. As usual, there's always so much happening in the shed. I'm really impressed about this sculpture that you have of the coolers. That sounds so fascinating, and I also love that it's, you know, part of the purpose is to help bring people into the gallery spaces. And I'm curious, what sort of percentage of patrons do you get from just the street level? Like, they're not really coming there to see a show, they just, oh, this is interesting, and walk in. Do you guys track that?
That is what we're trying to track. That's what we're trying to improve, actually. I think that's the goal with this public sculpture. A lot of signage out there too that just makes it sort of inevitable that folks can have a really frictionless kind of point of entry and understand what the building is and how to get into it. We also had sort of partners on the High Line. They're going to have information at their desk, and they're going to have some folks who can help explain what that sculpture is and what open call is. So I don't know exactly the sort of conversion rate there, but it's definitely, I think, a growth opportunity for us.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
You have someone on the line.
Did you have a question?
I was just gonna ask, how do you generally, do your publicity? Like, are you on kiosks, or are you sent, how do you do your publicity?
Yeah, great question. We're on Bloomberg Connects. We are, I think, target a lot of kind of social campaigns. We haven't done a lot of physical publicity like subway ads or, you know, those things I think cost a lot of money, and our team has not found that that's like the most useful form, but a lot of paid social. Of course, we have a big, you know, newsletter that goes out. And then what I'm trying to do is approach it through partnership, like with DOE and DYCD, with programs like Summer Rising, with kind of more community activated ground up approaches, so people understand all the free opportunities that exist, but certainly also always open to thoughts around that.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Great. I think we have one caller, Mike Freeman online. Hi, Mike, did you have a question? Hello? Mike, are you there? I think you're on mute. Hi, nice to see you.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Darren, nice to finally meet you in person.
Yeah,
We've
you
had
too.
a few missed emails. We've never actually connected and had a conversation yet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't get back to your last email. You said you were going to be out of town, and then by the time those weeks went by, I forgot to get back to you. So anyway, I have been coming to CB4 ACES committee meetings to advocate for the inclusion of local artists on programming at new venues in the neighborhood. Now, as far as the shed is concerned, I first started doing this in 2019. That is 6 years ago, and I haven't seen anything change in that regard. It sort of, I find it frustrating and a little surprising, actually, that the shed and Hudson Yards didn't immediately connect with the hundreds of artists that live in the neighborhood, and their programming, it's been totally absent, as far as I can tell, from the programming there. I would like to see what we can do to make that happen, to change that and make that happen.
Thank you for this question, Mike. I know I sent you a very long email, but here's how I'm thinking about this. I think you raised the point in a way that highlights the need for hyper local artists, where we see our kind of unique affordance. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I have to object to the term hyper local, because that's a term that both Tamara and you have been using. And I have to say, when developers came to CB4 and were looking for local support for their development, they weren't talking about hyper local support from CB4. They're talking about local. In my mind, local means local. They weren't looking for support from the Bronx, from Brooklyn, from Queens, and everywhere else. They were looking for support here, local. Sorry, go on.
No, I appreciate the distinction. I'll tell you this. Right now, what we're focused on is sort of projects at scale because the building is at scale. What that has meant for Open Call is that we democratize that selection process intentionally to try to get as many artists who are New York City based. The requirement is that they have to live or work in New York City. So that is all 5 boroughs. In terms of local, meaning the borough of Manhattan, I'm excited about this pilot with the Department of Education, with the Manhattan Borough Student Art Fair. I see that as a pipeline and a real opportunity for young artists to have their work showcased. That is only the borough of Manhattan, but it's 113 schools, so that's feeling really exciting. I think to your point around artists who live near the shed or within, I don't know exactly how you define local, within the borough or within a few neighborhoods.
CB4.
CB4.
Within,
Yeah, I think that is not something we've been able to accomplish yet. I really hear the desire around it and the advocacy for it. I would love to do it. It would be launching a new program, which I would absolutely love to do and would love to keep hearing your ideas around it and certainly CB4's idea around it. I will tell you at this point, our kind of like resources have been allocated for these initiatives to meet sort of students and then New York City based artists and all the other things I've laid out. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. It just means we haven't been able to do it yet. One thing we've sort of been hoping for is to launch like a lobby program. We haven't had the funding to do it, but my hope there is that because our lobby is so large, we could allocate physical space for either visual or performance artists to do work in the lobby. I think that would be a really fun and exciting way for anybody to have their work seen. The plaza is another really exciting lever, but we also run into the union costs. We're a union house, and that is a really important thing for us. And it means that the cost of entry is quite high. So that's some of the barriers we've run into so far. But of course, I appreciate the prompt. I appreciate the advocacy. And I'm here to really engage with how we can make this happen. That it hasn't happened yet is not a reflection of no desire to make it happen. It's a reflection of what's been prioritized so far and the initiatives that have pointed, I think, directly back to parts of the mission statement and then to the resources that we have.
I appreciate that. I'm hoping that we can get something going. Like I said, it's been frustrating. It's been 6 years. Nobody can say I haven't been patient, because I have. And I've tried to open the dialogue with Tamara, and I thought we were making progress and something might happen. And then all of a sudden Tamara was gone and you were in, and then I haven't been able to actually connect with you and to discuss this directly. So I'm hoping we can do that and see if there isn't something we can do to take advantage of the local talent here. Not take advantage, but to fund the local talent here. I mean, with all these incredible new venues, should be in part supporting the neighborhood artists who live here, in my view.
Yeah, I love it. I appreciate that. I will say to you also, the plaza that's adjacent to the shed that Related owns and operates, we've advocated to them several times. They host community days and have a much larger, let's say, pool of resources. I actually sent your information and other artists' information to them as well. So I think it can be a collective effort. We can look at it as our institution and also the folks who are near us and around us.
Right.
Might have different resources available as well. But yeah, I really appreciate it. Please, when you have a chance, get back to me in that email and we can set up a time to come together.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Darren, so much for that information. I think that you do bring up an interesting point. If there's another space that Related has that might be a possibility, then let us know about that too, because we might be able to connect with them and see how we can facilitate something like that happening. That's really important to know. And also the lobby idea, if we can think about that a little bit more, I think that would be great.
Definitely.
But thank you for all the work that you're doing and presenting today. That's such an exciting summer plan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you so much, Darren. Bye.
We have anyone? Yes, Esther.
Okay.
Change that. Like over. We're also Quentin, our status, he was invited, but he was not invited, but. He might have plenty to say about the education.
No problem.
Yeah.
So we are joined by Esther from State Senator Brad Hoylman's, Siegel's office. Esther, thank you so much for being here this evening. Part of,
She's still on mute.
okay, that's okay. Part of what we're hoping to get out of this conversation is just some, I think, at this point, just some high level information. We know that the state budget was just passed. We don't expect you to go over in detail the state budget and everything that was came out in terms of education funding. However, we've had previous conversations, for example, with Councilmember Gail Brewer has been here, and we've talked a little bit about the foundation aid formula. And we know that it's a complicated process, but there were some proposed changes to that, which our understanding from the council member could have a real potential impact to the tune of about $350 million to New York City public school students in terms of a cut. And so, you know, we were thinking about, you know, how can we just educate our committee a bit on the foundation aid formula, things that the senator is working on and advocating for, things that our community board should be involved in moving forward, and just understanding sort of where in the process things are now, given that there's a state budget. I don't know if the foundation aid formula, for example, was tied to the passage of the state budget, or if there's still negotiation and discussions happening post-budget. So yeah, we really, you know, again, appreciate you being here and just looking for some high-level information about state funding for our public schools.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. My name is Esther Caroline. I'm a legislative aide and community liaison at Senator Hoylman-Sigal's office. I'm sure you all have met and worked with my colleague Jonah. And Brad wishes he could be here tonight. Unfortunately, he is in Albany going through all the fun post budget movement there. But I will try to answer as many questions as I can. And if there's anything that I can't answer, I will diligently take notes and bring it back to our team and try to get you an answer soon after. So I'll say, you know, just a high level sense of where things are right now. So foundation aid, just as some background, is the state's funding formula through which they distribute state funds to New York City or to New York public schools. Then there is the New York City funding formula, which is the fair student funding formula. That's their own formula through which they distribute the funds that they receive from the state to the schools within their district. So obviously, as a state office, we're engaged in the more in the process for the state formula. And then how that's distributed in the city is a city process. You know, I can try and answer some questions there, but that's the part that we're a bit less engaged on. So for the state formula, the foundation aid formula, I will say this year, there is not a cut to New York City schools. I think that's the concern people had. It's a bit confusing, but actually all schools are going to get about a 2% increase in funding. And in total, I want to make sure I have the right numbers for you, but I think there's going to be 26 billion in total in foundation aid funding this year, with a 538 million year-to-year increase for New York City. And that was tied to the budget. So the changes to the foundation aid formula were passed just this past week in the state budget. That doesn't mean they can't be changed in the future. It just means that they were passed. So if they were to change again, it would have to go through either the legislative session now, or would have to wait for the next budget. What people mean when they say that there is a cut is the changes this year were that they moved from what was before a census, 2000 census of poverty levels that determined which districts were receiving which funds. They moved away from the 2000 census to what they termed a 3-year average of, I think, small area income and poverty estimate rate. It basically aligns with the federal system for determining poverty rates instead of 2000 census rates, which are obviously very out of date. The problem is that New York City does have lower poverty metrics under current data than they did under the 2000 census poverty rates. So that means that New York City has lower poverty, which we're happy about, but it does mean that they will receive less money now than they would before those changes were made, at least in this part of the formula calculation. So to account for that, what advocates wanted, and what our office was also advocating for, we were attending rallies, really trying to get this passed, was that they also account for cost of living, which they might term like the regional cost index. So that, New York City might have lower poverty rates, but it also has a much higher cost of living, which means that, whatever the income level is needs to be assessed also relative to what the cost level is in the city, because that will impact, what the level of poverty is. And unfortunately, that was the part that we couldn't get past. So they are not accounting for a new regional cost index for New York City, which means that New York City is going to be disadvantaged by the new funding formula, since without accounting for cost, the poverty levels seem to be lower than they were in 2000. By the way, let me pause here because I know I threw out a lot of information, and then I'll talk about how that exactly impacts the amount of money that New York City gets in a moment. But I just want to make sure I can answer any questions surrounding that bit of information.
No, that's very important information, Esther. You said you're gonna break that down for us in a minute, but I'm just curious, are there still waits for students in temporary housing? Because in our district, we, have, hundreds of students in temporary housing, so that would really
Yep.
have a great impact on our schools.
Yep. So sorry, I want to see if I have that information right here so I can give you correct numbers. Okay, I'm not 100% sure if there was a change or if that was kept the same in the funding formula for this year, but can I take that down and see if I can get you an answer?
Yes, please, thank you so much.
You said in temporary housing?
Yes, there used to be a wait for students in temporary housing.
Yeah, let me check that. Sorry, I don't want to give you an answer that's wrong. So let me check that and get back to you.
Of course. So if you could just break down, like, what does this mean in general for our
Yes.
school?
Sure. So what this means for the schools, it doesn't mean that schools will be receiving less than they were last year. The reason for that is, first of all, there's just more money in foundation aid to begin with. So even if it's distributed in a way that disadvantages New York City, they're still getting a bit more money. And there are also other things that have changed in New York City. So population increases, other things that are also part of the formula that make it so that in total, they actually are still receiving about a 2% increase per school. Obviously, that's a bit dependent on how New York City distributes it, but in total, I think a $538 million increase in total for New York City. However, that increase would have been about $350 million more if they had accounted for the regional cost index. So that's the concern. The New York City was disadvantaged in this, but they're not going to lose money. They just aren't going to receive as much money as they could have been if there was what, we might, I think, fairly call a more fair distribution system that accounts for cost of living. So, it's not the outcome we wanted, and we tried really hard to get to another place. And I know that the advocates in our office and other elected officials are still working pretty hard to get this change in the budget in coming years. I know that they actually did account for a regional cost index. They did do an update for Westchester County because there were some unique pieces there that made it so it was even more urgent that they account for the cost index. So I would take that, don't take this is not an expert opinion in any way, but I would take that as some indication that we're moving towards a place where a regional cost index is updated and accounted for across the board. And we're hopeful that that can happen in future state budgets or in future legislation. And I'm sure there will be legislation introduced soon to do exactly that. Which I don't want to speak prospectively for our office, but we supported that in the past. I'm sure we'll be happy to support that, the continuation of that fight in coming sessions. So again, just the high level stuff right now. This was passed in the budget. if they had used the formula that advocates in our office and other offices were really pushing for, we would have received another 350 million more, but we are receiving a $538 million increase this year, which I think the schools will see and hopefully will be distributed through a fair system, whatever is determined in the New York City funding formula.
Okay, yeah, that, 350 million, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
What, we always ask, what can we do to help? Is that something that we could ask, advocate for in the next budget cycle, or what can we do
Yeah.
to help?
So 100% in the next budget cycle, I'm sure this will be revisited with much vigor, especially as we see, how this impacts the schools, where the needs really are, where it really are most critical. So I will say, keep an eye out for things as they come out. Right now we're in this space where everyone's sort of reacting to this news and reacting to how it's going to impact them. So I don't know that there is, a very clear-cut action plan in place yet, but I'm going to guess that the advocates are developing something right now as a clean response. And we will be, in lockstep with them and supportive of whatever that response is. And I would be very happy to share any action items with your team. I'm sure it will be, maybe a resolution in support of any legislation that would change the funding formula to account for regional cost index or anything like that. And in the meantime, I would say, it's time to, I don't know exactly how the city process is, but now that the funds come through the state, now the city decides how that's distributed. So there should probably be some eyes on that process and what the formula is there. I'm sure folks have a lot of thoughts about what the formula is. I wish I could speak more intelligently to that piece, but I just am less familiar with it.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely keep our eyes on that. Are there any other
Yeah,
questions?
absolutely.
I mean, it's such a bad memory, but a couple of meetings ago, there was somebody who told us that the forecast for the number of students by like 2040 or something is supposed to be like 20% less or 25% less.
We got that through the DEIS. It was the DEIS. Yeah, so it wasn't anyone specifically, it was right.
But I guess I was just wondering, because I think there are a lot of people who feel like those projections don't seem right.
Right.
That I'm just wondering if that's something that your office is paying any attention to, is just sort of like the forecast and the implications for our schools as to what is going to be happening based on the amount of development that is being proposed in our areas.
Yeah, that's interesting. So to be totally honest, this is the first I've heard of this projection. That's not to say our office isn't aware of it. I just haven't heard of it. Who did you say you heard that from?
Well, right now, there is a proposed redevelopment of the NYCHA and Chelsea LED campuses.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a statement that they had put out. They're doing a calculation projecting how many students we can expect by the year 2041. And they said that it's going to be a very steep drop in enrollment. I think citywide, they were saying close to 25%, but in District 2, it was about 9.7%. So less here, but we also are building a lot more housing.
Yeah. What did you say it was citywide?
Citywide, they said it was like close to 25% of drop in enrollment by 2041. So I'm sure, we could, I guess we can share that, right?
Yeah, no, it's public document.
Yes, right.
To clarify, Esther, that was part of the analysis on the drafted environmental impact statement for the project.
Okay.
So it was an equation or a set of equations that they were using to see if the proposed project would require them to create school seats. And that was really it. So Jonah knows, you can ask Jonah about it. He knows all
Yeah,
about it.
I'm sure he's very familiar.
He was at the full board meeting in which we passed our comments, our full comments on, which included language about schools and things like that. But yeah, you can definitely take a look at the draft EIS.
Yeah, I'll check in with Jonah.
Yeah.
But that's point of information, that's their calculations, not,
Well,
that's generally not We don't know if that's checked.
Yeah, they had apparently gotten the numbers from the Department of Education and DCP, so. You know, they didn't just pull it out of nowhere, and they're saying that these are the numbers they got, and then they did their calculation, and this is what they came up with. So certainly it would be helpful to actually get, you know, some idea if this is,
Yeah.
I don't know how they came up with this
Because I
calculation.
do know, I mean, there's a history of people having, I don't know the right way to say this, of there being concerns about the way that the DOE has calculated or forecasted needs in the past. People have said like, oh my God, those are so wrong. And I'm just wondering if there's any sort of pushback on this idea that like, oh no, numbers are plummeting, we don't need new schools. Or, you know what I mean? I'm just wondering if there's any pushback on that.
Right, and I'll just add to that, Esther, is that the schools in our district, 4 of our 5 elementary schools are at over 100% capacity. So
Wow.
we're, right, so that this really has an impact on us, and meanwhile, they're telling us that, well, enrollment's gonna drop anyway, so you don't need more school seats. But we also are under meeting the class size mandate, where all of our class sizes have to be reduced by a certain year. I don't even know if we're gonna make that year. I think it's 2028. So there are a lot of things coming down the road, and we're not really feeling like we're getting the answers that we need in terms of seats. Are we going to have enough seats?
Yeah. So what I'll say is, you know, we take our cues frequently from people on the ground who are gathering that data and who are, you know, sharing some in the weeds reports of like exactly, you know, the fact that 4 of 5 elementary schools are at over 100% capacity is pretty concerning and means that there need to be more resources funneled into the district. So I appreciate that. I will certainly flag it and follow up. I'm guessing that if it is the case that the numbers being reported by the city or state agencies are not reflective of the situation on the ground, then what I would say is the next step would be to get maybe the controller's office, either the state or the city controller office, to do, you know, a more serious census of where things stand exactly. It sounds like we need more and cleaner data. So maybe I'll talk to Jonah about checking in with different offices, seeing if those reports are being made and if that research is being done. You know, past the numbers that we're receiving from the state or city departments of education. I think that is a pretty important effort. So I'm very happy to look into it.
Okay, great, that would be really helpful.
Great, thank you, Esther. This is really helpful. Appreciate
Yeah, of
sort
course.
the very clear explanation of the foundation formula and its impact. So thank you so much. And please do come back if you all are looking at doing a resolution, if there's something the next cycle, you know, happy to, you know, be engaged with your office on those efforts.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll just throw out, you know, that was, I would say, more disappointing news in terms of our efforts through the budget. But in some good news, I think, you know, we were able to secure another 580 million in capital funding for CUNY, another 80 million more than proposed by the governor. So we were really proud of that effort. And then we also were able to get a $3.5 million funds for implementing a new ban on cell phone use. I'm sure you all have seen the headlines on that, the bell to bell legislation, which is legislation that our office initially championed, and we were really glad to see it finally, you know, being taken up by the governor and pushed through the budget. And we're hoping to see some real impact in that. So we did have some very happy wins, and we're hoping to see even more in coming years. And I'm happy to answer any other questions about that stuff. And I will throw out, just while I'm here, I have you all at my discretion. We are doing a shoe drive in our office. So if you have any children's shoes, lightly used or new, come by our office this week, drop them off. Or if you know folks in your community who might have, and it will go to unhoused students in the district. So we would love to get as many pairs of shoes as we can from you all. And that's my little pitch from me to you. So you can come by our office. We're at 322 8th Avenue.
Oh, that's great to know. Thank you, Esther.
Yes,
Of course.
thank you so much. We'll probably be back to you on that cell phone ban.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, you take care.
Thank you all. Nice seeing you all.
Just briefly, yeah, Jesse, you mentioned Quentin from Councilmember Botcher's office is on. Just wanted to recognize him being here and joining us for our committee meeting. Quentin, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to share from your end since you're here, but thank you for joining our committee tonight. Yeah.
So now we're on to old new business. Anything you want to raise or?
CDC voting ends tomorrow, so if you have a student in the public school system, you can vote for 3 candidates for the Community Education Council. That's one
Right.
piece of new business.
And the other piece of ongoing business is the parent concerns at PS 33 over this proposed development. So our councilman, Eric Botcher, is trying to arrange a meeting with the superintendent, the principal, and maybe some other members of the community. And so we're just waiting there, you know, and related, of course. So we're waiting to see, hopefully that can happen sooner rather than later.
Nice. And I have only seen the headlines, but I haven't seen any details. What, in connection with the cell phone ban, are they planning on introducing bags like those, whatever they're called?
I believe they're gonna be taken as soon as they get to school, right, when they get in the door. So the bags weren't very helpful because kids would just go in the hallway and if you bang the bag against a metal, it just breaks it, and then you can use your phone. So they had to come up with a different plan. So I think at this point, they're just going to be taking the phones as soon as the kids walk in the door and like registering them, and then you get them when you leave the building. But certain kids will be allowed to keep their phones, like for medical issues or other things, that there will be accommodations made. So it would be nice to have somebody come back once they formulate it a little bit better, maybe during the summer or in the fall, to really talk about how this is really.
But it sounds like there's like so you're saying it's like a staff position, there'll be somebody there.
It's gonna be expensive, yeah, right.
Yeah, she mentioned, I think there was some funding tied to it.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
listed, yeah. Interesting.
Anything else?
Yeah, don't you have something to say? Announce?
About the shed?
Yeah.
I'm now sitting on the board of the shed, so yes,
I didn't hear you.
I'm on the board of the shed now.
Oh,
As the,
congratulations.
yes, appointed by our, well, it's the speaker, sorry, the speaker of city council. So hopefully,
Congratulations.
yes, I've already been speaking to Darren about trying to bring more local artists into the shed. So that was a big topic of conversation, and it is complicated. It's a complicated issue, but it's nice to know that Related has a space there, and that's something that we could certainly be looking at and going after right now. I mean, they're asking a lot of our community, so any opportunity that we have to get something back, I think is really important. So I just love to hear what Hudson Gill is doing, because they are really a model for what happens in terms of, you know, locally. And a lot of our community would like to see something from the shed. So there are some opportunities. We are talking about a few things, so hopefully something will work out.
It's great.
Do I have a question? Did we ever, or do you have any updates on, remember the art building that was for sale? Any updates?
126th.
Yeah.
Oh,
was
they don't know.
Any updates?
Yeah, so we did our letter, and I don't know I think they have some potential buyers that are very interested in reserving the artist studio space, which is good. So I think there's good news, and there's a few different foundations that they're working with that have similar missions in terms of ensuring that the artists can stay there.
Okay.
So I don't know, where things are, but we're in close touch with the artists within that building, and the letter that we put out, I think, is a helpful way to put us on the record in terms of our position.
You helped coordinate a site.
We did a site visit, yeah, we did a site visit, which was, we did that about a month and a half ago. And it is open to the public, which is nice, so if you wanna go and take a look, it is an incredible space. Every studio that we went into felt like its own little world, like it was so different from the next one. So, yeah, we did do a site visit, Josephine was there, the council member was there. And we just walked through to get a better understanding of really like, you know, the livelihood and the impact of what it would mean if this place was to close. So it was really pretty powerful to just see everything that was going on there.
All right, a lot of the artists actually leave their spaces open, like the door open so you can come in and see their work as they're working. They had a place that was like an auction house, right?
Yeah.
Doing that, they had painters there, they actually had the painter, and forgive me, because his name has escaped me, but he did Obama's portrait for the White House. And we were invited in to see other portraits that he was
Yeah.
working on, and it literally takes him a year to 2 years to do one portrait. And his work was just absolutely phenomenal, and so many artists there were, so. You know, they have a buyer who is potentially interested. Yeah, it's just hard to say, you know, at the end of the day, it's New York real estate, we're staying hopeful. So they're gonna, you know, they're keeping us posted.
Anything else?
Ready to adjourn?
We're gonna need it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, we'll get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
Great, thank you so much.
thanks for staying, Erin.
Yes, Erin.
Come back to Chelsea, we'd love you to be part of that.
I know.